For the Packspace, I wrote 0 lines of code. I mean, literally 0. It was all prompting. This is kind of vision I have for the future. We are going for AI operating systems where you basically have nothing on the start and you can create the apps you actually need with AI.
So what does it take to truly build a lens for specs from scratch? This is fundamentally the question I asked Max, who won the first week of the Snap Hackathon building a utility-driven lens for people with ADHD.
So basically you have the list of things you need to collect on your glasses displayed. You walk around your place, you collect like a laptop, charger, power bank, t-shirts, shirts, whatever.
The real unlock is CLAD, an AI co-developer building by your side. We will look at his first experience from setup to brainstorming, coding, debugging, and more.
I just followed the tutorial from the snapshot because for me it was the first time I was using the CLAD. The first prototype was running in, I think, 1 hour or something. From the very first prompt to the final, I think it was around approximately.
And of course, it's not all great, and we will look at some of the challenges he encountered.
I had specific visual on my mind, so it's not like standard snapshot UI, which is good, but for this case I wanted something more plain.
How even without a pair of glasses you can test and simulate the full experience right now.
I was super impressed. So when you have the lens, you have a 3D environment where you preview your experience. With CLAD, it's automated. So this was like the best thing I loved, and it was really impressive for me that it can orient in 3D space, it can rotate the camera where it needs to check the things, and you can tap the buttons and do the full workflow testing.
This episode is sponsored by Snap, and that's because you still have time to join the ongoing Summer Hackathon and start creating with CLAD without prior experience. Each week a new team is introduced, giving you the chance to build, submit, and win. So don't miss this opportunity because, as Max puts it, you are up for a magical experience.
Honestly, I am a bit happy for people who haven't tried it yet because it feels like magic. I mean, actually, you open, you see some space in front of you.
And now it's time to roll the title and welcome Max under the spotlight. Max, it is a real pleasure to have you here.
Hey, great. Thanks for having me.
So, Max, let's start with probably the most important thing. What did you build and what problem you were trying to solve?
Yeah, so basically I ended up with building the Packspace project. It's a code name, let's say. The idea came up itself from the air, let's say. I was brainstorming with the CLAD code. And I was saying, like, let's fix some daily thing that everyone can have issues with, or maybe not everyone, and that it's like outstanding and using like special features of the specs, because I don't want it to another habit tracker on 2D displayed on the spectacles. I wanted to use actual features. So we built with CLAD and CLAD, we built a Packspace, the tool that allows you to optimally pack your things for any trip, prepare the lists, and then reuse these lists. So basically you have the you'll see on the video, you have the list of things you need to collect on your glasses displayed. You walk around your place, you collect like a laptop, charger, power bank, t-shirts, shirts, whatever, and you have designated area where you need to put these things before packing them. So you're basically keeping track of everything you need for your next trip.
By the way, it was interesting and funny a bit how you say we built, like if it's a teammate. Yeah. I think that's what a lot of people are doing and associating nowadays, because indeed CLAD is what we are going to discuss. It's kind of like a teammate sitting next to you that apparently you use also for the brainstorming session then.
Definitely. I mean, I started using AI for brainstorming a while ago, even where there was no coding agents, like just ChatGPT or something, because I loved to do this during my student years with my friend. We are not working together anymore. And now CLAD or ChatGPT or whatever AI basically replacing me my partner for brainstorming, yeah.
So then what was your prior experience about building AR, Lens Studios, more generally?
Yeah, I started with AR a while ago, like I think 6 years ago as a developer, because my background was basically Unity and iOS developer. So I was coding a lot of different experiences, mainly games and complex logic things. And yeah, it was like a really good ride. There was a lot of cool projects for huge brands, and there was some hackathons hosted by Snapchat also and other companies. So yeah, I would say I have really solid coding experience, but nowadays I would say it's not really relevant. I mean, with the agents, it's anyone can code much better than I with 8 years of coding experience.
So wait, did you just say that your experience as a developer is kind of irrelevant?
Yeah. I mean, for the Packspace, I wrote 0 lines of code. I mean, literally 0. It was all prompting. I was just like sometimes where it was like very specific bug. It was kind of issue, but it's more like not the CLAD issue. It was more like my setup issue environment. So I was just check the code, what is wrong to see inside. But, you could still like write few more prompts and it would get fixed.
So let's start from the very beginning, right? In a sense, like how do you set up CLAD in the first place?
So how we set up, there is like very straightforward tutorial. You just need to copy paste the things to your agent and it catches up. MCP is automatically running on the Lens Studio version. And yeah, it was super easy. It was like 5 minutes setup, I think.
So also for that, you would say you don't need to be a developer then, just to make sure.
No. I mean, you just need to read plain English and use Command C, Command V.
Okay, and that would say it's absolute requirement. It makes a lot of sense. And so after you set it up, like what was the first thing? Let's say that you have your idea, okay, we want to help people organize things. Then what was your first prompt?
So for Packspace, it was very simple. I started with, I want to use this, and these features of Spectacles. I feeded the full challenge web page, so it knows the rules, it knows the judging criteria, it knows the topics, and so he is on context with his contest rules and topic. And then after I just started brainstorming, he give me like 5 ideas, I think. I read them, I see this one is okay, but maybe no. Then there was something almost like a Packspace, but it was not this. So I just say, let's refine this idea and maybe make it more wider and more like better usage coverage for this. And then it ended up with Packspace. It's a name also from Cloud Code. So I mean, I literally did almost nothing.
So from almost nothing, right, to what we see, for example, in the video and in the concept, how long did it take you, for example?
The first prototype was running in, I think, 1 hour or something. Like the prototype, I mean, working version. But I wanted to polish the UI, visuals, etc. So like from the very first prompt to the final, I think it was around I know, like maybe 2 days maximum, but it's also like not full-time days. So let's say 10 hours approximately. I don't know.
And you mentioned also the UI side, right? In a sense, like is that also done by natural language, like make the border thicker or add another transparency? Does that also happen this way?
Yeah, exactly. The only issue with UI I personally faced, I don't know, maybe it was bad prompting. It was a bit hard to change the UI look and feel at first. I was not happy with the results, so I spent, I think, few hours on actually UI changes because I had specific visual on my mind. So it's not like standard Snapchat UI, which is good, but for this case, I wanted something more plain, more like ASCII style, maybe even, I don't know. So when I asked to do ASCII style UI, it just basically changed the font and added these different characters on the titles, like strokes and etc. It looked like ASCII, but not what I wanted. So yeah.
And so UI mentioned being one of the things that you were struggling a bit, let's say, not getting for shot what you wanted. Were there anything else that CLAD struggled a bit?
It's like I just finished my second project so far with CLAD, so it's a bit hard for me to say. What I see, it's a huge improvement because I was among first people trying the MCP for Lens Studio. It was, I think, a year ago, a year and a half, maybe even. And even before, we was trying to write code and do projects with AI, but we was using just YAML injections. So I mean, the snapshot project itself, Lens Studio project itself, is a YAML file, which you can, basically it's text file you can edit. There is all info about your scene objects, IDs of them, position, etc. So you can like ask your client to create or change something on scene even before CLAD, before MCP. But there was a lot of crashes. This is super unstable and this is super unrecommended to do. So with CLAD, it's like, yeah, I was super impressed, but that it can control the scene like preview. So when you have the lens, you have a 3D environment where you preview your experience. And usually how you do, you like agent can write the code, but you then go to editor and you look around, you tap things, etc. yourself manually. With CLAD, it's automated. So this was like the best thing I loved. And it was really impressive for me that it can orient in 3D space. It can rotate the camera where it needs to check the things. And you can tap the buttons and do the full workflow testing.
That's another interesting point because, of course, you didn't have the glasses to let's say to test this, right? So these are all lenses that we run on the specs that will be launched in a few weeks. So then can you guide us through that step? So you had the code, you had something running, right? How did you run and test what CLAD produced? Can you give us a bit of background?
Yeah, so we have a Lens Studio editor. There is like a preview mode inspector where you see like Snap prepared assets for developers. So there is like a prepared 3D room, like the background I have, for example, right? And here it simulates your point of view from glasses. And you can walk around with the VASD buttons and you control your point of view with the mouse and you basically click. So yeah, you have a full running simulator in Lens Studio.
And was that enough? Because I always had the impression, right, that when you are creating for spatial content, you also need to have, let's say, another layer of depth. So, and since you also develop maybe for other AR experiences, maybe based on your background, would you say that that is enough and what you got would run equally fine when it is instead on specs?
I wouldn't be that confident. I mean, I'm a bit pessimistic person myself, so I will test it a few more times before going for production on real device. This is like, I think, rule number one for any developer. Test it on real environment, not on a simulator or whatever. But at this stage, when there is like no actual physical product available at all, and being able to create apps already before it launches it's very beneficial. And I would say I'm 80% confident that Packspace will run the same way as in simulator on the glasses. But this is very like specific thing for this lens itself. There is definitely the lens I built for the week 2. I'm not sure that much. I would say 40% because it uses scanning, it uses uploading, a lot of other different features, which works good on simulator, but not sure about the glasses for now.
Because you brought up another interesting thing. So right now there is this ongoing hackathon, so to say, where there is like build one lens every week. And I think that if you would have asked and told people that I'm building one app a week for an AR device, people would say, what are you saying? Are you crazy? Now, do you think, to what extent do you think this is, for example, CLAD support? To what extent you think is also the fact that those are built to be simple app? Because we will, I feel at least, look a lot at utility-driven cases where you don't want to build maybe a full game, but something that adds immediate value on a small task. So to what extent do you think that this, let's say, capability or possibility to build these, let's say, quickly, these lenses is driven by their simplicity or by what CLAD can do? What's your take on that?
At this point, I feel that almost anything can be done with CLAD in Lens Studio. Because again, it has a full context, it has access to all APIs, it's very well set up and prepared for the development. And I saw on Reddit on Specs Reddit, there was a huge request from developers and people around to have CLAD on Specs itself. So basically to have it running on the Specs, so being able to create widgets or mini apps, as you mentioned, on the runtime while using the glasses. And from my point of view, I mean, this is kind of vision I have for the future. We are going for AI operating systems where you basically have nothing on the start and you can create the apps you actually need with AI. So you basically just ask, I need a calculator. It builds a calculator and you see it displayed on your screen, and then it's just dissolved from your memory. So you don't need it all the time stored on your hardware. But again, this is my maybe crazy thinking. But anyway, CLAD is something really close to that for Specs. I actually can imagine having this running on Specs and asking it to build some packing thing, and it builds a prototype. I test it, I tap and say what to change. It changes immediately, like few seconds, and I have a running application that I really actually need that gives me utility.
So based on what you're saying, CLAD seems like capable of everything, right? And I want to still kind of own in on some of the things just to set a grounded impression after you testing it for a couple of weeks. We were talking about that UI that was struggling a bit. What else do you think is needed from you as an input or maybe as an expertise to get closer to a reliable final lenses that can deploy it?
Okay. I mean, at the current stage, if you're talking right now, right, maybe the next few days, because things change drastically. I would say you still need a good prompting skills. I mean, you still need to be a good explainer, to explain what you're thinking and what you want as an end result really clearly. But also, the thing I'm using personally is I'm asking CLAD Code to first create the spec document, which is basically used as a master prompt, where it describes all the features, it thinks about all the possible issues we could face during the development, and it gives a step-by-step execution. So basically it plans the work ahead, and then when we are working, it has just a steps of execution, and if something breaks on some specific step, it returns. But again, so I'm saying now because in future I think they will do it automatically, the agents and AI. So you just say plainly, do me this app, and it will create the task, create the list, plan what can go wrong, etc., etc.
This is an interesting point, though, because you missed it at first in a way. So there was you got an idea and then you create a spec document from it. And then that's the moment that you go about building the pieces and the feature, correct?
Yeah, it was after brainstorming. After we log the idea, we go for the spec document, yes.
Okay. And I also had another thought, especially while looking at the app, right? And the video. So the idea is that you then would eventually put different objects on a certain spot, right? And then you would need to check mark, right? It says, yes, this is there. Now, how hard would it be? I don't know if even, again, with CLAD, to get that done automatically, right? I'm putting a pen, I'm putting a book, and that is automatically check mark. When I take it out, that's automatically done.
Yeah, I expected this question. I had this idea during development. I didn't try implementing it because, from my understanding, it will require a really huge ML model trainer that will be recognizing all the things you put into the camera. I saw some developments from community, from my friend Pavel Tkachenko. I think they made a single run object recognition thing. I honestly haven't checked it deeply, but I skipped this feature. I really wanted it to have automatically recognizing things. But again, I wanted something that 100% working and foolproof, let's say. And I understand that now it's still not good enough, the recognition technologies, to recognize anything perfectly. I mean, there will be still bad recognitions, wrong recognition. For example, if I bend my pants in the wrong way, it will think that this is t-shirt or whatever, right? Okay, laptop, charger, yeah, it will recognize. But some other things, I'm not sure. That's why I skipped this. But again, this feature definitely doable in next few months, I think, maybe year. And yeah, we'll see when specs shipped, we can test it.
Fair point. Fair point. And the other element that also was interesting was that it is not just about the experience in the specs, so to say, right? There is also like a web portal where you can kind of like add elements or remove elements to those specific spots, right? To the specific spatially localized list. What was the thinking behind that?
Honestly, this is something like I don't know how to say, things I love the most about nowadays lenses, because we finally got access to internet, kind of. We got APIs and so, because years ago it was closed, it was really impossible to do anything, request to any API. And now I'm just trying to use it as much as possible in my lenses because I really enjoy. So I just said, okay, what we can do here. I mean, so it's not just offline thing. And I thought that, okay, it would be actually cool if, again, my girlfriend wants me to pack some things. And I don't know what exactly she wants. So instead of just a list of things on my phone, she can send me this list. And like the next step also, in future, let's say, it will be great to have a spatial map of your flat. So basically you can have a navigation to the things where they belong. So I don't need to search for my t-shirt. I know that it lives somewhere in the closet in the shirt shelf. So glasses will just navigate me to this t-shirt. I grab it and I place it to the packet. Everything automated. I just need to collect things, right? So, and that was the thinking behind. And yeah, I think I'll use it on every project, this web experience, because now I also used it for branding. So I created a web page where you can rebrand the lens. So basically it's published, but then when you open and connect to it from the web experience, you can change the color of UI, you can add the logo of your company, and etc. Without new build.
And this also, as you mentioned, right, the expansion of features and capability, I think it was also like expand the use cases for something like this, right? And potentially not just, hey, I'm here, I want to put stuff on my desk or on my couch, but instead try something else. What would you say are, let's say, some other either consumer or maybe more business use cases of something like the one you have built? Have you kind of like thought through it?
From my background, I'm really expecting to see much more glasses on industry plans, and like Industry 4.0, I think finally will come alive with the glasses and AI and the recent technologies developed. Because like years ago, I worked with HoloLenses, and it was like innovating as days back. It was like wow thing, the LiDAR and etc. But it was so heavy. It was really uncomfortable to work whole day. It was like super inconvenient for end users. But for us as a tech people, it was like fascinating. We was creating a lot of prototypes, etc. So I think with the specs, definitely we will get much better interfaces for cars, car mechanics, and I don't know, like car maintenance will get like completely another level because you have like all the things. You have two free hands. Like main feature of the specs is that this is the glasses. This is like something you have two hands free and you still have UI, you can navigate, you can like discuss things, you can Google wherever you want, and you can have specific app open which is voice controlled. So for me, it's a killing feature for this.
Yeah, and the value of having that spatial understanding, right? So not just having a screen attached to your face, that of course expands dramatically the level. But of course, it comes also at the expenses of weight, right? And let's say.
Believe me, I mean, people who complaining about weight should go and get HoloLenses tried. Like, I mean, seriously, this was a great product. It's really old. I mean, HoloLenses is like, I think 10 years old now. It's like, it was breakthrough, but don't compare that much. I mean, yeah, this is not everyday wear, I think, but I haven't tried. Maybe we'll see.
So then what would you say to, let's say, other creative designers or artists who might want to kind of like take a stab, join this competition, and maybe start creating for next week a utility themed challenge?
What? Go to lens list check the guides, check the requirements, and just copy paste. I mean, literally, all you need is Cloud Code Codex, wherever agent you are used to, or maybe if you didn't, you can still open any chat and ask. This is what I was doing when I was starting with Cloud Code. I asked just Claude, teach me how to use Cloud Code. So nowadays, I'm like using Cloud Code for almost any tasks on my laptop. I have different workflows, I have agents, etc. Yes, okay, but it's like after half a year of 6 months of experience. You can ask any chat to teach you how to use agentic coding, and it will take like, I know, hour or two to get into, and you already develop in the lens. You'll see, it's like, honestly, I'm a bit, I know, like, happy for people who haven't tried it yet because it feels like magic. I mean, actually, you open, you see some space in front of you, and you just ask to, I don't know, like create the bouncing box, and you see the bouncing box in your view jumping. So because I saw stories like this from other creators who tried CLAD and Lens Studio for first time, and it's really, really cool experience. So it's worth trying. And yeah.
So, in one, let's say, obstacle or objection from people that might be interested in trying this is like, it's too hard, right? And let's say that you say, well, no, you can set this up. Maybe it takes 1 hour. That is, CLAD can help you. Everything is set up for you. That may be one obstacle overcome. But what about the other why, right? Let's say if you're an artist, a designer, or a creator, and you say, yeah, but why should I spend my time trying to develop for these new devices?
I mean, I know that I'm analyzing what I'm saying during this video, and I'm not related to Snap on any way. It's not a promotion or whatever. But really, what the best thing happens when you merge few fields. So the best ideas evolve when you merge few things. For me, my eye is already like, not that clear because I saw a lot of things. I saw a lot of technologies like by Snap and Studio, and I'm already missing some things. They're not fascinating, they're not impressing. But for people who come in from other areas, you bring your competence from your area. So for example, I don't know, you are a chef, right? You're a really good chef in some restaurant. You come in with a really huge chef experience that most likely nobody else have in the Lens Studio world because we are developers. And with the Cloud Code, with the CLAD and Cloud Code or whatever, you can create something unique that we couldn't even think about because we don't have your experience, we don't have your background. So that's, I think, the best thing about AI agentic coding and etc., that it lowers the entry stage for anyone, and by this we widen the experience that is coming into our space.
I think that this is probably the biggest thing because let's say that once the technical barrier has been overcome, then what matters is the idea, is the use case, is the expertise that comes behind. Because then also the barrier of entry lowers, and you need that new influx, that new input from people that haven't even tried this technology. So yeah, I think this is an absolutely fair point, and let's say a strong invite to anybody that might be willing to join and is curious about this. Set this up in a couple of hours, maybe join the Discord, team up with people, or on the Reddit, ask some questions, because I think that the community there is very open, and this event is a good one because in a week you build something out and then you can test it straight away. Then one last question. What's next? You mentioned that we have one challenge every week. Can you share a little bit of what you are working on?
Yeah, I actually just finished working yesterday with the week 2 challenge. It's a guide topic now. So again, I try to do the as generic as possible experience. So instead of creating like a list or a guide how to cook or a guide how to repair your car, I prepared a tool that allows you to record the guides. So basically you go to any environment you want, any workspace, and you start recording your steps of the guide. So for example, how to clean an espresso machine, right? You go to it, you start recording, you say, step 1, open this thing. I don't know, like step 2, get it out. So you put the AR markers around, then you record voice audio for each step, everything is synchronized again to the backend, to the web service. On the web, you can go through it and add text marks, because I find it personally still easier to add text on the web rather than on Specs itself, but the voice input is still good. Anyway, you add the text. You can also add some images to this. So for example, you have some layout, schema, or wherever. And when you complete, you approve this guide and you publish it. So then next time, for example, you can give the glasses to your kid, they wear it and they see like your hands. This is actually the feature I was missing in simulators, that we don't have the hands simulation. So basically I wanted to record the hands movement during the guide, so you can actually see what I do with my hands later. So this is like a future feature, hopefully. Anyway, you have each step narrated by yourself with a text, with the input images if you need, and it goes step by step till you finish the tutorial. So yeah, I mean, I really love this being very generic. Any industry, any field, anyone can use it. And yeah, I think this is my main focus for next build also. I don't want to build specific things. I want to build tools that will allow people to create things.
Max, thank you very much. That's really inspiring. I look forward to see how it is. And of course, best of luck on week 2. You were the winner for week 1. Who knows? Maybe there is another prize laid out in front of you for week 2. And of course, again, a reminder for everybody to join. You still have time. Please join into the challenge. Max, it was a real pleasure. Thanks for sharing your app and your workflow.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for listening in. If you like the show, remember to leave a rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or a thumbs up on YouTube. It really helps me keep doing this and shine the spotlights on the greatest founders and makers, pushing the boundaries of XR and AI. Also, make sure to check out the show page xraispotlight.com, where you can find more conversation like this one. Till next time.